In this video, I want to take a look at UCLA women's basketball as they are a bit of an enigma to me, as they are difficult to understand. Are they good? Are they not good? Should I be backing them or not? Before we start, if you like the content, then please consider subscribing to the channel and give the video a like. All right, let's get into this. I often like to check future betting for winning the championship just to see where teams are sitting. If you take a look at it, South Carolina is almost unbettable at minus 120, then Iowa plus 600, LSU plus 700, UConn plus 1500, Stanford plus 1600, Texas plus 2,000, Ohio State 2,500, and UCLA plus 3,500. Now, when I look at all of those, I can't help but think, my goodness, UCLA is good value at plus 3,500. If I was to bet, this is obviously for entertainment purposes only, but if I was to put a dollar down, that looks very attractive to me just when I look at it, as I can't help but remember when UCLA played Ohio State early in the season at their place and just tore them up in Ohio State as well. I just think they're better than Texas. I know they lost to Stanford, who's plus 1,600, but they didn't have Duglic and Sontag, who were away on overseas commitments, and obviously Lauren Betts was away as well. UConn, I figure, is plus 1,500 because there's a lot of action on them because they're a public team, and everybody expects UConn to go to the Final Four. LSU the same way. They came into the season with a lot of hype and talent, but I just think plus 700 is too low for LSU. And Iowa the same way. They're a public team. Everybody wants to put money on Caitlin Clark. So that's why I see UCLA at plus 35K, the best value for money on the board in my opinion. And there's no doubt it is very easy to love UCLA on paper, as they look like the perfect team. Like the season started, I was like, this team is the perfect team. They've got a veteran point guard in Charisma Osborne, who's a fifth-year senior. They've dynamic off guard in Kiki Rice. They've got outside shooting in their third guard, London Jones, and then Duglic is the perfect stretch four. They've got Betts, who's 6'7", and just dominates inside. So she shoots a ridiculous percentage. If she gets it near the basket, it is over, and she cleans up the board. Not only that, that's just their starters. They've got a good bench as well. So Jaquez is a swing forward guard. They've got Cam Brown as well with veteran leadership. She can play forward, but now they have her playing guard, and she's veteran, knows what she's doing. And then they have Iwala to back up Betts, who can throw her weight around, get rebounds, and a perfect backup center if Betts gets in foul trouble. It hurt UCLA when they lost Emily Bassoir to a knee injury while she was playing overseas, as she is in the mold of Duglic and is a perfect stretch four. So that hurt, but they have so much depth anyway, it really didn't make that big of an impact or significantly damage their potential to go to the Final Four. And that's the question is you're probably asking is, okay, this team is so loaded, then why are they only 25-6? And why didn't they win the Pac-12 regular season? And as well, once they were healthy and ready to go, why didn't they win the tournament? And well, I guess that's the bit of a mystery aspect to this team. Are they really good? Can you trust them? Should you trust them or not? I think some of that baggage comes from their past, essentially. Corey Close, the coach of UCLA, has been there since 2011. During that time, the furthest she's gone in the tournament is the Elite Eight, where they made it in 2017-18 season, where they lost to Mississippi State. Other than that, they've always been eliminated in the Sweet 16 to Texas, then UConn, and then again, Texas got them. That was actually in the second round. And then last year, they got eliminated by South Carolina in the Sweet 16. And that is why UConn, even with playing four freshmen and one superstar and a really good power forward. They are plus 1,500 versus UCLA, what is plus 3,500, even though they seem to have the perfect team and perfect lineup. But if you go back and look at those games they lost in the tournament in the past, they were always the underdog. So has Corey Close really underperformed? I would say in previous tournaments, they've done as expected. Do I think she's done more with less at times? No, but I don't think you could say that she has underperformed with the talent they have had. Now, in terms of this season, if you look at it, I would scratch away. So their record, like I said, was 25-6. Two of those losses, like I said, were when Betts and Duglic and Sontag were away. So I really see them as only with 4 losses. Those 4 losses came to USC on the road, again, Utah on the road, and then Oregon State on the road. That was the one they lost in overtime on the last-second three-pointer. And then, again, they lost to USC in double overtime in the Pac-12 tournament. If you look at all of those are all quality losses. So I wouldn't be too bent out of shape on them. There's things in those losses that are clearly evident that on all of those losses, their starting 5 did not shoot well from the three-point line. So in the first loss to USC on the road, they shot 5% from 3, their starting 5. And they went 1 from 17. Again, on Utah, they were 2 for 13 for 15%. Oregon State, slightly better, 23%. And then again, when they lost to USC in the Pac-12 tournament, once again, they were 4 for 26 from the three-point line, and again, lost in double overtime. And in truth, that's sort of Captain Obvious, no doubt. If you shoot bad from 3, you generally do not win, and that's been the case for them on those occasions. But I would look at the positive side of that. Like, they shot bad in those games from three-point line, but they were still in those games. Like Utah, they lost in overtime. USC was in double overtime. Oregon State was in overtime. So it's interesting. They can overcome bad shooting, and it makes, if they're shooting well from the three-point line, so if London Jones or one of those 3 goes off, then they are very difficult to beat because they have such a big advantage with Betts on the inside. But their weakness is their guards are small. So Kiki Rice is 5'11", London Jones is only 5'4", and Charisma Osborne is 5'9". I think that's why they struggled a lot versus USC, whose guards are big, obviously with Juju and Forbes. Juju Watkins also got to the line a lot versus UCLA, which allowed them to slow down the game and get them into half-court sets where they could match up on their guards with their size. And that's the real hope if you're playing UCLA, is you want to try to slow them down, get them in a half-court game, and then have big physical guards that hopefully make it a struggle for London Jones to get off and Kiki Rice to get off and Osborne as well. And then whenever Lauren Betts gets the ball, you want to swarm her. And then when you come back down on offense, you want to try to get Lauren Betts in a bit of pick and roll. That's what Utah did in that first game that they won at Utah as well. By the end of the game, Close had taken off Lauren Betts at the end of the game. I guess one last thing that scares me about them currently in Charlie Cream's bracket, he has them in the same region as Iowa, and man, doesn't that seem very familiar with Iowa playing last year against South Carolina? And doesn't that bring up memories of Iowa slaying the dragon? They had a giant big in Boston and as well Cardoso, but a hot Caitlin Clark was able to dominate and win the three-point battle and ultimately the game, and that would scare me, that matchup for UCLA. So ultimately where I sit with this is I would not be surprised if UCLA makes it to the Final Four. At the same time, I would not be surprised in the least if they got knocked out in the Sweet 16 by Iowa. So there you go. Probably not too informative, but in terms of plus 3,500, I do think that is good value. I think it's probably the best value on the board. But then again, that's how Vegas builds all its hotels, so I would stay away from it. All right, thanks a lot for watching. Have a good night. Leave your comments below.